The city was gray and heavy with rain, the kind of rain that kept even the homeless hiding under cardboard and pushed the wealthy behind tinted glass. David Thompson liked rainy days. It meant fewer people, less noise. He could slip into his car, buried in his thoughts, unnoticed by the world. He didn't notice the beggar at first. He was too busy scrolling through his emails, his mind buzzing with business meetings and merger deals. The chauffeur, Peter, held the umbrella as David stepped from the lobby of Thompson Tower, the tallest building in the city, all steel and ego. "Your car's ready, sir," Peter said quietly. David grunted, distracted. "Drive slow today, Peter. I need to think." They turned the corner and stopped at a red light near a rundown bakery. Its window cracked, the sign faded. That's when David saw them, a thin man, maybe 40, with a scruffy beard and hollow eyes, sitting on a plastic crate. Beside him was a boy, no older than 6, huddled under a torn jacket, clutching a threadbare teddy bear. The rainwater dripped off the boy's messy brown hair. He looked up as the car passed. For a second, their eyes met, gray, wide, and uncertain. David felt something cold run down his spine. "Wait," he said suddenly. Peter blinked. "Sir? Stop the car. Back up." Peter did as he was told, pulling to the curb. The beggar's shoulders tensed, and he gathered the boy closer. David rolled down his window, ignoring the rain splashing onto his suit. "Hey!" David called out. "Are you all right?" The beggar looked away, his jaw set. The boy stared, silent, unblinking. Peter lowered his voice. "Sir, do you know them?" "No." David didn't answer. He couldn't tear his eyes from the boy. There was something about him. Something eerily familiar. The small, stubborn chin. The shape of his eyes. The look of quiet defiance. It was like looking at an old photograph of his own son, Michael, when he was a child. The beggar coughed, pulling his jacket tighter around the boy. "We don't need anything. Leave us alone." But David didn't move. He was locked in place, his heart hammering. He remembered a fight 5 years ago in this same city. The sound of a door slamming, Lisa's angry tears, his own stubborn silence. He'd walked away, and she'd disappeared with their baby boy. He shook himself. "What's your name?" he asked, directing the question to the boy. The beggar answered sharply, "That's none of your business." David leaned out farther, rain soaking his hair. "Look, I'm not here to cause trouble. The boy, he looks familiar, that's all." The beggar glared at him, and the boy pressed himself closer to the man's side. "People say things when they want something. Just go." Peter touched David's shoulder. "Sir, let's move on. We'll be late for your meeting." But David wasn't listening. He reached into his pocket and pulled out his wallet. He took out a $100 bill and held it out. "At least take this. Buy something warm to eat." The beggar's lips curled into a bitter smile. "You think money solves everything?" David hesitated, then put the bill away. Not everything. A long, awkward silence filled the space between them. The rain seemed louder. David tried again. "You look like you've been through a lot. Can I call someone for you? There's a shelter nearby." The beggar's voice was tight with anger. "We're fine." The boy peeked up at David, curious and uncertain. Are you my dad?" he whispered. The world seemed to freeze. David's heart stopped. The beggar grabbed the boy's hand, standing abruptly. "Let's go, Ethan." He yanked the boy away, limping slightly. The boy looked back once, his gray eyes wide. David watched them disappear around the corner. The rain blurred everything, but he couldn't shake the feeling that a ghost had just walked by. Peter cleared his throat, uneasy. "Should I follow them, sir?" David stared at the empty sidewalk. Number, not yet. But as Peter drove off, David reached for his phone. He snapped a picture of the pair as they left, feeling a strange mix of guilt and desperation. Why did that boy look so much like Michael? Why did hearing him call out Dad twist his insides with something close to shame? He couldn't focus during his next meeting. The faces in the boardroom blurred. He saw only the rain-soaked boy, Ethan, and the haunted look in the beggar's eyes. David sat in his study, a glass of whiskey untouched beside him. He stared at the photo on his phone. Ethan's face was half hidden in shadow, but the resemblance was undeniable. He scrolled through old pictures of Michael at 6 years old. The same eyes, the same serious expression. A sudden, painful longing filled David. He hadn't seen Michael or Lisa in 5 years, not since the fight that destroyed his marriage and shattered his family. His phone buzzed. Peter texting, "Sir, should I look into those two from earlier?" David typed back quickly, "Yes." Discreetly. "I need names. Where they're staying. Everything." He stared at the rain on the window. The memory played on a loop. Lisa shouting, David's cold words, the slam of the door. He'd buried it, convinced he'd done the right thing for his company, for his reputation. But now, staring at Ethan's face, he wasn't so sure. David returned to the spot near the bakery, but the beggar and the boy were gone. He checked every alley, every shelter in the neighborhood, but nobody had seen them. Some said they'd moved on, others claimed they never existed. That night, David tossed in bed, haunted by the encounter. He remembered the rumors after Lisa left. People whispering she'd run off with another man, that she'd changed her name. He'd believed them because it was easier than facing his own failures. The next morning, Peter arrived with news. "Sir, I found something." The bakery owner said the beggar's name is Tom. The boy is called Ethan. They come by every morning asking for stale bread. David's throat tightened. "Did he say anything else?" Peter shook his head. "Only that Tom protects the boy like a hawk, won't let anyone near him." David closed his eyes. Tom. The name tugged at something deep in his memory. An old rival, someone from his past. But the details slipped away, lost in the fog of time. He made a decision. "Peter, I want you to follow them next time they show up. No contact, just watch." Peter nodded, worry in his eyes. "Are you sure, sir? This seems personal." David didn't answer. He only stared at the rain, lost in thought. 5 years earlier, David's office. Lisa stands in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. "I can't do this anymore, David. You're never here. Michael needs a father. I need a husband." David barely looks up from his laptop. "We have everything we need. Why isn't that enough?" Lisa's voice shakes. "Love isn't a business deal." He shuts his laptop, his jaw set. "Maybe you should leave. If you can't handle this, go." She leaves. The door slams. He doesn't run after her. David sits at his desk, staring at nothing. The rain has stopped, but the weight in his chest remains. He pulls out a photograph. Lisa, holding baby Michael. The same eyes, the same smile. He whispers, "What have I done?" Button. Through our stories, we build hope and give future to all marginalized and abused people all over the world. Also, let us know in the comments where you are watching us from and how this story hit home for you. The rain stopped, but the city still felt washed out and cold. David barely slept. All night, memories haunted him. Lisa's face, Michael's laughter, and that boy, Ethan, looking up at him in the street. David paced his living room, clutching the photo he'd taken. Tom and Ethan. The boy's face burned in his mind. He sent Peter out early, determined to find them. By noon, Peter returned. He stood awkwardly in the doorway, hat in hand. "Sir, I found them. They're staying behind an old church on Miller Street. Tom keeps to himself, but the boy, people say he hardly talks to anyone." David grabbed his coat. "Take me there. Now." They drove in silence, the city blurring past. David's heart thudded. He didn't know what he'd say. He only knew he had to see Ethan again. The churchyard was muddy. Tom and Ethan sat on a blanket under the broken porch. Tom saw the black car and stood quickly, shielding Ethan. David stepped out, holding his hands up. "I'm not here to cause trouble." Tom's eyes narrowed. "What do you want, David?" David froze. "You know me?" Tom laughed, bitter and low. "Of course I know you. You ruined my life. Why wouldn't I remember your face?" David blinked, struggling to remember. Tom's beard was thicker, his hair grayer, but the voice? Yes, Tom Evans. Years ago, Tom had worked for David's company. They'd started as friends, then rivals. Tom accused David of stealing his ideas, and soon after Tom was fired and left broke. David's mouth felt dry. That was a long time ago. Not for me, Tom spat. You took everything from me, and now you come back, flashing your suit and your car. What do you want from us? David looked at Ethan. The boy was curled around his teddy bear, silent and afraid. David crouched down, keeping his voice soft. Ethan. Is your mother's name Lisa? Tom pulled Ethan closer. Leave him out of this. But Ethan's eyes widened. Lisa was my mom. She died. Tom takes care of me now. David felt the world tilt. He swallowed hard. Lisa was my wife. She left 5 years ago. With our son. Tom's anger burned hotter. You have some nerve. She left because of you. She had nowhere else to go, so she came to me. And when she got sick, I promised I'd protect Ethan. David's mind raced. Lisa's dead? Tom nodded. She died 3 years ago. She made me promise to keep Ethan safe from you. She didn't trust you after what happened. David's voice broke. Let me talk to him, please. Tom hesitated, torn. Ethan looked up at David, his gray eyes shining. Why did you leave us? The question hit David like a punch. He knelt, guilt tightening around his chest. Was angry, David said. I thought I was doing what was best. I was wrong. I'm sorry, Ethan. I'm so sorry. Tom shook his head. Sorry doesn't change the past. Flashback 5 years ago. David's house was full of shouting. Lisa stood in the kitchen, trembling. You lied to me, David. You cheated with Grace, my best friend. How could you? David stood tall, refusing to admit anything. It was a mistake. It's over. I love you. Lisa's eyes filled with tears. You love your company more. You love your money. I'm leaving, and I'm taking Michael with me. He let her go, too proud to chase her. That night, he convinced himself it was for the best. David stared at Ethan. I never stopped thinking about you. I looked for you and your mom, but I didn't try hard enough. Tom scoffed. You didn't care. You had your empire. Lisa was alone. She died alone. David's fists clenched. He turned to Tom. Why do you hate me so much? Tom's voice shook. You destroyed my career, my family. You let Lisa down when she needed you most. You think money can fix that? David's voice was cold. I didn't know she was sick. I didn't know about Ethan. Tom spat on the ground. That's because you never cared to find out. You moved on. Ethan started to cry, the tension too much for a little boy. David knelt and tried to comfort him, but Tom pulled Ethan away. David stood, angry and ashamed. Let me help. Let me do something for Ethan at least. He deserves better. Tom glared. You think you can buy forgiveness? David shook his head. Number. But I can try to make things right. Tom's jaw tightened. He looked at Ethan, who wiped his tears with a dirty sleeve. We don't need your help, Tom said. But Ethan deserves the truth. David nodded, his throat tight. Ask me anything, Ethan. I'll tell you the truth. Ethan sniffled. Are you my dad? David nodded, fighting back tears. Yes, I am. Tom's shoulders sagged. The fight seemed to go out of him, leaving only exhaustion. That night, David sat alone in his penthouse, haunted by everything Tom had said. He stared at a photo of Lisa and Michael, tracing their faces with his finger. He remembered Tom's words. You let her die alone. He realized he had spent years running from his mistakes. Now, the truth was out, and it hurt more than he expected. David called his lawyer. I need to find out if Ethan is really my son, get a DNA test, and find out everything about Tom Evans. The lawyer was confused but didn't argue. David's voice was different now, urgent, desperate. At the church, Tom sat with Ethan. Tom pulled the boy close. No matter what happens, I'll always look after you, okay? Ethan nodded. Will I see David again? Tom sighed. I don't know, kid. Maybe. Maybe he really wants to help. Ethan looked down. I miss Mom. Tom's voice broke. Me too, buddy. David spent the next 2 days in a restless fog. He barely touched his food. He paced through his empty penthouse, replaying every moment with Lisa, every mistake, every lie. He was afraid of the truth, and afraid of losing Ethan, his own flesh and blood. Peter, his loyal driver, watched him with quiet concern. You haven't been yourself, sir. David looked out at the city lights. I might have a son I never knew, and his whole life he's been cold, hungry, and alone. Peter hesitated. Maybe it's not too late to change things. David nodded. I hope so. David went back to the church, determination burning inside him. He found Tom and Ethan huddled on their blanket, sharing a piece of bread. Tom's eyes were wary as David approached. You again. David knelt, facing Tom directly. Let's stop pretending. I want to help Ethan. Let me do something for him. Anything. Tom stiffened. What, buy him a new life? Buy back your guilt? You can't fix everything with your money, David. David shook his head. I don't want to pay you off. I want to be there. For Ethan. For real. Tom's voice was sharp. You want to be a father now? After all these years? David's jaw tightened. Yes, I do. If I can. Ethan looked between them, his eyes wide. Why are you fighting? David's tone softened. We're not fighting, Ethan. We're trying to figure out what's best for you. Tom turned away, pain on his face. He's been through enough. He doesn't need more trouble. David reached out. Let me help. Let me take Ethan home. He needs food, warmth, a doctor. Tom pulled Ethan close. He needs people he can trust, and that's not you. Suddenly, Ethan slumped forward, shivering violently. His lips looked pale. He tried to stand but stumbled, collapsing into David's arms. Tom's voice shook. Ethan! Ethan, stay with me! David scooped Ethan up, panic in his voice. We need to get him to a hospital now! Tom hesitated, then nodded. Okay, but I'm coming with you. They rushed to David's car. Peter drove as fast as he could through the city. David cradled Ethan in the back seat, whispering, You'll be all right, son. Stay with me. Please. Doctors rushed Ethan inside, and Tom and David waited in a cold hallway. Tom paced, wringing his hands. David sat, elbows on his knees, haunted by guilt. A nurse came out. Are you the boy's father? David started to answer, but Tom stepped forward. I am. I've raised him since his mother died. David's voice was hoarse. He's my biological son. Can I see him? The nurse looked confused. We'll need to verify things. Please, both of you stay here. As she left, David turned to Tom. Let's do a DNA test. I want the truth, and so should you. Tom's face was tired. Fine. But no matter what those results say, I'm not letting you just take him away. David nodded. I don't want to take him from you. I just want to know him. I want to do right by him. And by Lisa. Tom's eyes softened, just a little. You should have done that years ago. They waited for hours. The silence grew heavy. David tried to fill it with memories of Michael and Lisa, but guilt crept in. Tom finally spoke. You know, Lisa never hated you. She was just hurt. She hoped you'd change. She waited for you to come after her. But you never did. David's voice broke. I was stupid. I thought I had more time. Tom nodded. We all do, until it's gone. The nurse returned. Ethan's stable, but he needs rest and better care. Social services will want to speak to both of you about custody, and the DNA test will be processed soon. David's heart pounded. Thank you. Tom squeezed Ethan's hand in the hospital bed, tears in his eyes. David stood on the other side, afraid to touch his own son, but longing to hold him. The next day, a social worker arrived. She was stern, with kind eyes. We need to know what's really going on here. Ethan's health and safety come first. Mr. Thompson, is it true you're Ethan's father? David nodded. I believe so. I was married to Lisa. We lost contact 5 years ago. She turned to Tom. And you? Tom's hands trembled. Lisa was my friend. When she died, she asked me to care for Ethan. I promised I would. The social worker nodded. We'll let the DNA test decide, but for now, Ethan stays in the hospital. Neither of you is allowed to take him without our approval. David felt helpless, but he understood. That evening, news broke. Billionaire David Thompson involved in paternity scandal. Secret son discovered living on the streets. David's phone exploded with calls and messages. His company board demanded answers. Paparazzi camped outside the hospital. Tom glared at David. See what you've done? Now, Ethan is just a headline to them. David felt sick. I never wanted this. I just want him safe. Tom's voice was bitter. You can't control the world, David. Not everything bends to your will. David slumped in his chair, defeated. He'd built an empire but lost his family. Now, even Ethan's future was out of his hands. As night fell, David found Tom sitting by Ethan's bed, head in his hands. David spoke quietly. Tom, if I could go back and change it all, I would. But I can't. All I can do is fight for Ethan now. Will you let me try? Tom looked up, eyes red. You want a second chance? Prove you deserve it. Not with money. Show Ethan he can trust you, and if you hurt him, I'll never forgive you. David nodded. I promise. No more lies. Ethan stirred, waking up. He looked from Tom to David, his voice small. Will you both stay? They looked at each other and nodded. Yes, they said together. Morning sunlight slipped through the hospital blinds. David had barely slept, sitting by Ethan's bed all night. Tom stayed too, sometimes dozing, always waking at the slightest sound from Ethan. Neither man trusted the other, but both were there for the same boy. Nurse walked in with a gentle smile. The DNA test results are back. The social worker wants to see you both. David's heart thudded. Tom squeezed Ethan's hand and stood. Together, the three walked down the hallway, silent, tension thick as ever. The social worker and a judge waited in a quiet meeting room. Papers sat on the table, along with a large brown envelope. David and Tom sat opposite each other, Ethan between them, holding his teddy bear. The judge spoke first. We have the DNA results. Mr. Thompson, you are Ethan's biological father. David's jaw clenched, relief and dread mixing inside him. The judge looked at Tom. Mr. Evans, you are not related by blood, but you have been Ethan's guardian for years. You have provided for him when no one else would. Tom bowed his head, silent. The judge leaned forward. Ethan, this is a big decision. Who do you want to live with? Ethan's voice shook. Can I have both? I don't want to lose Tom, and I want to know David. The social worker nodded. Joint custody is possible, but only if you both agree and do what's best for Ethan. David looked at Tom. I'll do whatever it takes. I want to be in Ethan's life, and I'm sorry, Tom, for everything I did to you and Lisa. Tom hesitated, pain and anger flickering in his eyes. You hurt a lot of people, David. But Ethan needs more than revenge. He needs a family. Word of the case spread fast. Reporters gathered outside the hospital, hungry for gossip. David knew he couldn't hide anymore. That afternoon, he called a press conference. Tom watched from the hospital TV with Ethan beside him. David stood before the cameras, his voice steady but raw. I want to tell the truth. Years ago, I betrayed my wife, Lisa, and my friend, Tom Evans. My pride and ambition blinded me. I hurt people I loved. My son, Ethan, grew up with nothing, while I lived in comfort and lies. Today, I admit my faults. I want to make things right, not with money, but with honesty. I'm sorry to Lisa, Tom, Ethan, and everyone who believed in me. He paused, eyes glistening. If there's any lesson in my story, it's this. Money can't fix what the heart breaks. Only truth, love, and forgiveness can do that. After the press conference, Tom met David outside the hospital. You didn't have to do that, Tom said. I did, David replied. For Ethan, for you, for Lisa. Tom nodded slowly. He needs you, but don't ever let him down again. David swallowed hard. I won't. You're his family too. We both are. Ethan ran out, hugging them both. Can we go home now? David smiled. Yes. We'll go together, all of us. Weeks later, things were still messy. The past couldn't be erased. But Ethan now had a warm bed, good meals, and two fathers who tried every day to be better. David worked less, spending time helping Ethan with homework and learning to listen instead of command. Tom took a job at a local workshop. The three sometimes sat in the park, just talking, learning how to be a family. One evening, as the sun set, Ethan looked at them and said, "I'm glad I have both of you." David smiled. "We're glad we have you too." Tom nodded. Family isn't just blood, it's who shows up when you need them. And in that simple moment, all three knew the truth. Real wealth is not money, but forgiveness and the love you give when it's hardest.